Conscious Collaboration brings together entrepreneurs, changemakers, and thought leaders. We aim to highlight the people that embody the idea of aligned mind, body, and business. Each week, we share, discuss, and learn from the various experiences and ideas of our guest experts. Through our discovery, we find a path to an aligned mind, body, and business.
What up, guys? It's Lisa.
Hey, Lisa.
I'm Emily. I almost said I'm Emily.
Well, shape-shifting.
Yes.
We are collectively, as a mishmash, the Conscious Collaboration Podcast. What up, guys? Happy to let you in on our little identity crisis there. But one of us is Emily, one of us is Lisa. That's all you really need to know. Together, we make the Conscious Collaboration.
Or
How you
Lemily.
Lemily, is that our celebrity mission?
I think so. It doesn't flow though. So.
Yeah, it doesn't work the other way. You can't. It doesn't.
No.
Emisa.
Nah.
Emisa. Lemily.
Yeah. So it's been a long day already.
Yeah, it's been a good long day. I feel like. But yeah,
lots happened.
A
lot has gotten us here today. Time is weird.
Yeah, time is weird. Time is an illusion.
Yes.
Anyway, what have we been talking about this week that we are going to carry into our conversation today? I am introducing it with the phrase perfect form. Okay, yeah. That's the concept, which we're going to apply to business, but just to kind of tap into what exactly we're talking about here. This was inspired by another podcast I was listening to. I'm obsessed with Mind Pump. If you don't watch it, you should watch it, listen to it, whatever. You should. It's awesome. But I was listening to a conversation that they were having, and then Lisa and I started kind of piggybacking off of that conversation because it reminded me of something that my dad used to talk about. My dad was a college football coach for my whole life. So, obviously working with athletes and this idea of perfect form in the context of athletics or, movement practices. And the idea that, okay, so at baseline, you have, or we can even move this over to weightlifting, the skill of a squat. Okay.
Right.
You can take a squat and you have the textbook perfect form, right? The perfect way that a perfect world, perfect squat would look. And that's a great baseline to start to teach the movement of a squat from. However, humans are different. Human bodies are different. Human movement history and experience and medical considerations and everything else, injury history is all different. Hip and pelvis anatomy and all these things. So within the perfect baseline form of a squat, there are a ton of individual variations that can, when applied to an individual, still all be correct or appropriate for that individual, even though they may vary from that textbook perfect form. But if it's not, causing pain or issues or injury, and, the person is able to still progress in their squat, then it's not wrong. It's appropriate for this person. So then you can, kind of start to apply this to really any sort of athletic skill. You were kind of talking about it in terms of tennis and so the way my dad was talking about it, it was in the context of like a high level college athlete, like a quarterback. And so, one of the quarterbacks that he coached, who was just great, throughout high school and college. And then when this person got into the NFL, well, the coaching staff at the team that he ended up playing for corrected a technical fault in his throw, and he was never able to really, like,
Oh,
you
no.
know, like, break through in the NFL because he had, you know,
He lost
been
his
so successful
yeah.
for so many years using this technique. And you could they were also talking about it in the context of athletes, like, and nutrition. Like, say if somebody has this pregame ritual of eating like a bunch of candy and McDonald's chicken nuggets before a game, and a coach comes in and says, well, that's not healthy, you got to do XYZ before a game. But psychologically, that messes them up so much that it messes up their performance. So, this idea of perfect form, and then when it's appropriate um diverge, what's the word I'm looking for, diverge from that perfect form, and like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, kind of thing,
Right.
I guess. So, we were kind of musing beforehand as far as like how we apply this to business and life in general. And I think it's it makes a lot of sense. Like, specifically in my case, I was talking about how, in the beginning of opening my business, which is over 5 years ago now, if I would have actually sought like outside opinion on what I had going on, and whether or not I was ready to open a business with what I had in place, nobody in their right mind would have said, like, yeah, you're good. Like, green light, go. Nobody would have given me the green light. But I wouldn't have a business to this day. And, here I still am over 5 years later, which in and of itself is a pretty good, statistic.
Congratulations.
So it's like, um, and there is, as we were also talking about, of course, a fine line between like this is not to say that you should just be unteachable, uncoachable, and the way I do things is already perfect. And no, that's not the move either. I think there's definitely a spectrum here, but having that sort of self-awareness that we often talk about,
Mhm.
and being able to know, like, kind of what things um that you've created to suit the way you operate the best, that aren't necessarily that perfect form, but that are valuable for you to keep in your process, and what you're doing that could just actually be improved because you're not efficient. And like,
Mhm.
this could just make your life a lot easier if you worked on your form and technique in this area. So knowing what's what, I guess, could get trickier.
Mhm.
But I think there is a lot of stuff wherein you can appropriately stray away from that perfect form or perfect methodology, and areas where you should definitely be open to improvement.
Yeah. So a
What's
couple
the I
things
Ching
come
say
to
about it?
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wanna jump into that before
Yeah.
maybe I'll
Tell
do
me.
it. Maybe I'll pull some cards while I'm talking, but,
Word.
there is that line, is it a flaw, but when does a flaw really become the technique, or when does it become the thing
Mm.
that sets you apart from everybody else?
Mhm.
And when does that imperfect form turn into the thing that everybody learns?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because there is that too, and I know that's an outlier. But I think a lot of it, what it comes down to, and I think a good portion of our audience are entrepreneurial mindset or change makers and thought leaders. in how they do things, we're very good at being visionary. And someone starts talking to us about process and strategy, and our eyes kind of glaze over. Like, actually doing the implementation of the big ideas, it's just not our favorite thing.
A lot of
But
it's not very sexy.
it's not. And people don't become serial entrepreneurs so that they can, do the implementation. They do it because they love creating something and making it walk and breathe. And so I think this is a good discussion as we talk about it too, because there is an evolution here, and it is a spectrum. So, and I only know a little bit through sports. I don't know as much as you, being so deep into sports. But I do know it's only been recent in the last 25, 30 years that they've been able to be really honed in on technique in sports because they've been able to bring in cameras and you're able to have different sensors and actually see line on form and really get down to the nth degree on whether or not you're throwing the ball at a certain curvature. So that I don't know because I'm not in football or baseball or anything, but so there is that coachable aspect there. But I also think that as part of what we've been talking about in this podcast, and a lot of the people that we brought onto this show, is are the people that are doing things a different way. So just to keep those, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. And obviously, like a disclaimer here, both Emily and I are coaches in some regard being coached. So we are
Mhm.
open to different perspectives. I don't
Mhm.
think either of us think that we're like the end all be all of anything. But let's see. So as
And
we're
here's
talking,
this thought too. Sorry.
oh, go ahead. I can do this while you're talking.
Uh, well, I was just going to bring up the part that we mentioned before we recorded too about like if you get so caught up in being perfect and
Right.
having the technique absolutely perfect, then you actually run the risk of just never taking action.
Yes, you know what?
So
You're
that's the
right.
line to straddle as well. Is like we don't want to be just impulsive and crazy, but at a certain point, and I think this in a lot of ways is what makes a successful entrepreneur is that ability to just take action even without knowing, everything, every single step that lies ahead and kind of figure it out as you go.
Hmm. Yeah.
Partially learning on the job and
Right.
not worrying about perfecting the technique before you ever take any action because then you'll just always talk yourself out of taking action.
Right. I completely agree with that. I think and I do have like some type A tendencies too where like I will really get focused in on the details sometimes and it has to be a certain way. But as we look back to that whole discussion of overview in the previous episode, um you can't see the bigger picture of things. You can't, and furthermore, you might get stuck in the rut of never taking that chance or modeling yourself off of someone who's, um, in your field,
Yeah,
perhaps.
losing your originality, losing your
Yeah,
authenticity.
exactly. So probably the things that you feel are mistakes might be part of your secret sauce to what you're creating to a degree. I
Mhm.
mean, within control. So
Mhm.
as we're talking about this topic, I would say the topic of what should we call it? Form flaws, perfectionism.
Perfect for I don't know. I mean,
Perfect
we're
form.
kind of like making this, we're not making it
Okay.
up, but we get a little creative license, I think, with what we
Yeah.
call it.
Okay. So the first energy that comes up as we're talking about perfect form or form flaw is the energy of dispersing. So without reading into this too much from the text, dispersing can also be a dispersing from yourself or a disconnect of self. So, but do you want to see what the image looks like?
Yeah, it was kind of
Okay.
glaring. It just
Let's see.
yeah, it looks kind of, well, it looks like a shipwreck
Or like
or something, or
clashing
like
of
a
waves.
ship on stormy waters. And
Yeah.
maybe that's Lieutenant Dan up there yelling at God. Is that all you got?
There's
I
like
actually love
treasure
I love
islands in the
that scene
background.
as like sometimes I try to channel that energy, like Lieutenant Dan vibes,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
I think it's a good like
Like, what else
Braveheart,
you
like
got?
war energy. Like, is that all you got?
Yes. So it's definitely
You're
like a
welcome
clashing. It's a
if anybody
clashing of
wants to use
waves.
that in the future.
Oh, that one. I know Lieutenant Dan's come up a few times for us in conversation. And then the thing
Inspirational
that we
quote again.
can, the insight that we can leave the listeners with that like extra nugget is the cauldron.
Hmm.
So
That looks
referring
so
to
much more organized. That looks like it's so wild. That looks like compared to the other card, which is like chaos, like this looks very like
Mhm.
organized and purposeful.
It's well-directed heat on, a pot, like the alchemy, perhaps, of all the
Your
ingredients
bricks
that make you
are, stacked intentionally
yeah,
and
safe.
yeah.
You've got a good foundation there, you're not gonna burn the forest down or the garden.
Fire is controlled, but there's fire, but it is managed. Yes.
Yeah. It's a looks like a pleasant scene, I wanna hang out there, have some wine or
Yeah.
something.
Where there be cauldrons, there be witches, right? Is that a thing?
So
I don't know.
So, as we talk about this idea of dispersing, rigidity in the hearts of humans breeds an egocentric separateness. So,
Rigidity in the hearts of
of
humans.
humans.
What?
So,
What is the rest?
think about perfectionism, okay?
Yeah, but what was the rest of it? What was the rest of that sentence?
Breeds an egocentric separateness.
Yeah.
But this can be
Yeah.
transformed by a greater force, such as an uplifting ceremony or other communal activity. And I want to say about this communal activity when I'm reading it, I'm thinking of like how isolating it is to be an entrepreneur and to have these big ideas that everyone thinks you're crazy for, or the way that you do things. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. But by being able to have peers that also are in that realm of thinking, then you can have that communal activity celebrating, like celebrating your 5 years. My 5 years is in March
Nice.
coming up. We should have a little celebration.
Nice. Yeah, well, I think April would be 6 years for my LLC.
Ah,
So we
yeah.
could do that's
LLC
technically
party.
when I opened my business. I just didn't have a brick and mortar until October. But yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
we should have an
exciting.
LLC party.
That's
We should
exciting.
make
Yes,
that a thing.
it is. Don't forget to pay your LLC thing.
Oh God. Yeah.
You don't want that fine. Um,
Again, I did that once. I had to pay the $400.
never again.
Never
Um,
again.
yes, that's a big fear of mine. So yeah, so before the
It's just a
heart, the first
dipshit move. What it was. It's like dipshit.
the textbook, do not do what Emily did.
Because they
Before the
gave us
heart.
too long. It was COVID year. They
Oh,
gave
they
us
gave us
too
until
long.
July
So
or August
every
or something.
every
Yeah.
email I would get, I'd be like, oh, I got forever. And I was like, oh
Mhm.
shit.
You weren't
Okay.
the only one.
Yeah.
It says before the heart, the first thing to dissolve is any mental rigidity that might be feeding a sense of separation from others. Is that making sense to you?
Yeah, I'm trying to apply it to the perfect form kind of thing.
Yes.
And I guess if you were too focused on having the perfect form is when I would say you're in rigidity,
Right.
a rigidity place, or you're too focused on my way is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I guess on either end of that spectrum,
It's the
um, could
openness and
be ego,
heart.
isolated, egocentric, that kind of thing. Because you're
Yeah.
not really basing it off of okay, what works the best, right? You're just basing it off of some idea of perfection or this idea that the way I do everything is the best way to do it.
Yeah. So this I think is an important line. So one of the change lines is the fifth line. Fifth line. So went down from the heavens. It's talking about crisis can mean opportunity, but only when like-minded people are organized behind an inspiring ideal.
Crisis could be that imperfect form, just put really dramatically,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that can be, right? Like if that's the thing that makes you, then that can be an opportunity.
This is reminding me so much of my class that I took this morning as we were talking about building the team and support, and being able to communicate your big vision in a way that, and also the values behind it. So
Mhm.
if you don't do that correctly, it's not going to be
You're not going to get
successful.
anybody on board with your vision. You got to be able to sell your vision,
Mm-hmm.
communicate it.
It says, this is especially true in chaotic situations or during disorganized times when energies and resources have become scattered.
Mhm.
Immense energy and generosity are needed at such a time to seize the moment and to rally others behind a common cause. If you are
Mhm.
not in alignment with the greater good of all, you will become a victim of the chaos.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, because that's easy to those times. Like you could argue collectively right now, just stability wise, a lot of people have felt unstable and chaotic for a while. But if you, I feel like that's speaking of like a lack mindset. And if you get swept up in the chaos, then that's what, and so that's when people make moves out of desperation and hoard things, and however you apply that to the situation that you're talking about, it's when you're making decisions out of fear and lack rather than leadership and vision and what is best for the future.
Yeah, I think a lot of this has to do with believing deeply in your vision and your convictions,
Yeah.
even if they
Yep.
are, um, you know, not typical. It would
Yep.
be, and also this talks about when a partnership or group's bond is dissolving, only by rising above self-centered interests can much of the value be achieved. Take the high ground and greater good fortune will result. So, as an entrepreneur, if you're building that team or you have your collaborators to help carry out your vision, if you are not looking out for the greater good of everybody who touches that, and it's all just for yourself, then it's not going to be something that's sustainable.
Right.
So, that perfect form, we don't want to get into the place where we're beating ourselves up or being stagnant, not making the decision or making the move because we believe our form is imperfect.
We're not ready. We're not ready.
Mhm.
That's what they say.
We
Don't think about anything for too long because you'll come up with too many reasons not to do it.
Yeah, and it also just look to the people around you and below you that are supporting you and your team. Yeah, I think this is all really good energy around it. It says, if you sense trouble on the horizon for a group or enterprise, establish firm, reliable channels of communication within the group and with influential people outside of it.
Communication alleviates fear better than anything.
Mhm. I think we've been talking about this too a lot, that the way business has been done up until this time period, all the everyone I listen to in feng shui, everyone I listen to in astrology is pointing towards there being just immense change in how things are being done. And
The age
so
of Aquarius,
the age
baby.
of Aquarius, that's right. So it's
Breaking down establishments and yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I think it's really being confident that you're
Mhm.
making changes and rallying the support or through people that work with you, for you, or collaborate with you to keep that rally forward. Okay, so then we get into the cauldron energy, which you seem to really like a lot.
You know what else comes in cauldrons? Kind of. Gumbo.
Oh, that's a big pot of gumbo on that
It
fire.
is. That's exactly what's happening.
So it makes sense that you would like this a lot. So this is what we can this is what we can leave everyone with that we weren't anticipating talking about in relation to this perfect form or flaws, wanting to overcorrect. The cauldron symbolizes nourishment and rejuvenation.
Mm.
And so the idea comes to
Yeah.
those who bring joy to others, it's reciprocated. Opportunity comes to those who persist in their dream.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect form or not.
Mhm.
Like, this is another theme that I keep hearing. Like, if you just keep showing up, success is inevitable.
Yeah.
It's just takes more time than we are conditioned to anticipate, uh, especially with the state of, what's on social media and, the saturation of the coaching space and, all of it, business coaching, fitness, nutrition, all that.
I really think it's just a case
There's
of like,
lots of promises of
yeah,
instant gratification, but
most coaches, including us, we coach on what we believe in, what works for us. It doesn't mean that like our coaching is for everybody. Um, but I have come across people that are addicted to coaching. So they're just constantly taking class after
right,
coaching
right.
after coaching, and they really haven't even left the ground in their business yet.
Well, it's
So
that analysis paralysis. They're trying to get so perfect that they're
yeah,
not actually they're so busy getting coached that they're not taking action uh, you know, in their own
yeah.
business. You could fill that blank in with fitness, nutrition, what have you.
And I think that's like a red
Um,
flag too. Like if you don't feel at a place where you can like you've gotten to a good place with your coach, it might be time to try a new a new way. It doesn't mean it's bad
yeah,
for you.
yeah. Well, and
Um,
looking at things that like okay, okay, like why are you doing this? Why do you want to open this business? Is it because you think you're going to make a lot of money right away? Is it because you know, it's an opportunity to examine other factors
mhm.
as well.
So it talks about a fresh approach to old habits is indicated. So maybe your flaw in approach is just a fresh one. It's a
Mhm.
fresh approach to old habits. Look for ways of putting new life into old forms. Only when great vitality is present can a real breakthrough be achieved.
I love when the I Ching uses the exact words. It didn't say perfect form, but
But yeah,
form is what
yeah.
we're talking about.
I mean, is there I'm not telling everybody that if someone's critiquing your I mean, and there's things that I'm implementing in my business that I'm learning just learned today that I could be doing better. There's always things that we can be doing better.
Yeah, we're not saying don't listen to your coach.
Right. Um,
We're not
yeah.
saying that, but
But you should just
there are things, yeah, that
like the part of the process, I want to say,
Mhm.
like have a
Mhm.
conversation about it. And I think,
Mhm.
maybe like ask why and why are you asking me to make this revision or tweak to what I'm doing? And then like what's the end result, the big picture that you see, and how can we get to that together, like based on how I am naturally.
Yeah, and that's a good note for coaches too, you know what I mean? If you're kinda finding yourself at a roadblock with somebody and it's just like maybe take a pause and listen
Mhm.
to the client and see if there's a reason like that, you know as to why you're hitting this particular roadblock, why you can't get them to take a particular action or whatever the barrier may be. Maybe it's one of those things where there is an opportunity as a coach to find compromise or shift your
Yeah.
belief because, XYZ thing, even though this is what works best for 99.9% of people may be with this one person. There's a different way to apply it because of a psychological factor or just because of, time and experience, and they've been doing XYZ, a certain way forever.
Yeah, I think it comes back to, perceptions and awareness, and that cauldron picture is really like maybe even more co-creation, or
Yeah.
the combination of both to get
Coaching should be a collaboration to some degree.
Yeah.
It should be. Like, you gotta have
consciously.
You've gotta have the client input and feedback at all, continuously.
Yeah. Or
in
else you
order
just
for your
get someone
coaching to
that
be successful. Yeah. If you just
frustrated.
give somebody, a plan and say go, yeah, then okay, but that's not really coaching.
Yeah, they'll just say, I checked all the boxes and I'm not where you are.
Collaborative effort.
Mm-hmm. So what's your big takeaway? Collaborative effort in
Collaborative
shaping?
effort in terms of yourself as an entrepreneur, just, that self-awareness that we're always talking about, that opportunity to review and overview that we're always talking about. And, if you find yourself at that place of resistance, whatever that may be, then take that overview, right?
Mm-hmm.
And say, okay, is this an opportunity where I can improve my form, or is this what's really going on here?
Yeah. And I think, like, as you're describing that too, that was a great image that was on the first card of like the clashing of waves. That I think use the discernment so that you don't use the thing that is going to make you stand out, that you're going to be known for.
Yep.
So just some food for thought, everybody. We want to hear what your thoughts are. We're not saying this is our experience with it. We're deeply learning this part ourselves as well too. So we'd love to hear from you inside of the Conscious Collaboration Collective in our closed and private Facebook group. You can find the link to join us in our descriptions everywhere. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'd love to see you there and
holla at us.
Make some things happen.
Let's do it.
All right, I'll see you there.
All right. Talk to you guys in 5.
Talk to you in 5.
Thank y'all so much for listening to our podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends so they can join our circle of collaboration on this journey. You can find us on Instagram at Conscious Collaboration Podcast, on Spotify, iTunes, and Audible, to name a few. Please join us next time for another deep dive into how you can live life in more alignment, mind, body, and business. Send us your questions and comments in our DMs or email us at consciouscollaborationpodcast@gmail.com. See you in 5 minutes.